House of the Dragon is back with a bang, and it delivered 2 battles, so let's dive in and explain what just happened. And of course, spoilers for episode 1. But not beyond that. Now let's pour one out for our boy Jace, who continued the trend of a Targaryen son dying in each premiere of House of the Dragon. Rest in peace. Right. Let's start in the Riverlands, where we see the aftermath of a battle. In the books, the Greens' plan was to have Aemond, along with Criston Cole, march from King's Landing to Harrenhal, with Jason Lannister and his 8,000 Westermen approach Harrenhal from the west, so a 2-pronged assault to lock the rogue prince up in Harrenhal. This was to remove Daemon Targaryen and Caraxes off the board and be a stunning victory for the Greens, whilst uniting 2 of their armies. That does not go to plan, as Daemon hears of the movement of Aemond's and Cole's army and sends ravens to his troops to defeat the armies in detail, beginning with the Lannister forces. The first battle is at the Red Fork, where in a twist of fate, this time the Lannisters are trying to get into the Riverlands rather than out. It's here where Jason Lannister is killed by a squire called Pate of Longleaf, who earns himself a knightship for slaying the lion and the nickname Longleaf the Lion Slayer. Jason's death in the show is different. He is leading a retreat after the battle with Daemon's forces and is crushed by the Winter Wolves and beheaded by Roderick Dustin. Despite losing their lord at the Red Fork, the Lannister forces come up with an alternate plan to cross. Adrian Tarbeck and 100 hand-picked knights go further downstream, stripped off their heavy armor and swam across the river, then attacked the Riverlords from the rear, shattering the resistance and allowing the Lannister forces to finally cross the river. From there, they marched forwards towards Harrenhal. The Tarbeck-led Lannister army then re-engaged the remnants of the Piper-led Riverland forces outside the gates of Acorn Hall. There, the Lannisters dealt another defeat to the Riverlords, with the Lord Piper dying of a broken heart as his favoured grandson's head was placed on a pike. Before a Hedge Knight, Harry Penny engaged Adrian Tarbeck in combat, and they both slew one another, once again causing the Lannister army to lose its leader. This gap was filled by Lord Lefford of the Golden Tooth, who isn't doing too hot either, as he was injured in the battle and commands from a litter. Rather than stay and lay siege to Acorn Hall, the Lannister host continues its march to Harrenhal to unite forces with Aemond and Cole. Looking at the show, I'm going to assume they've condensed the first 2 battles into one, and that's at the Red Fork. I'm guessing this purely because of the noticeable river in the background. I would have loved to have seen a battle on screen, but I'm being greedy considering what they had to bring to screen later on. They've also changed who kills Jason Lannister, and I'm cool with it. Longleaf is a fun character, but considering we're already juggling so many characters with Oscar Tully being the voice of the Riverlands, and Roderick being the voice of the Northerners, this just helps simplify things from an audience perspective, and gives some shine to Roderick Dustin, who makes a much more badass entrance and introduction to the audience as he gives the lion's head to Daemon.
We have come to die for the Dragon Queen.
Another minor change is that although Daemon does participate in some battles of the Riverlands, he is not present at the battles we've just mentioned. The show has added him here probably just to unite a few factions and characters so we can align it. At this point in the book, he is actually doing something else. Now, there is more battles in the Riverlands, but I'll save that for a later day for when the show covers it. Next, let's get to the big one, and that's the Battle of the Gullet. There's some minor and major changes here that we'll explain those in detail as we go. We'll begin with the setup. Admiral Lohar informs Tywin Lannister that they will deploy a detachment to sail around the northern pass of Dragonstone and circle around to burn down High Tide in Spicetown on Driftmark, which is Corlys's seat. In response, Corlys arranges his fleet in battle lines in the southern passage to combat Lohar's oncoming fleet. The main body of the Triarchy fleet then engages with Corlys's own fleet within the southern passage of Dragonstone. Corlys then leads Lohar's flagship on a cat-and-mouse chase through a passage in Dragonstone where Lohar loses 2 of her ships in pursuit before finally engaging and ramming the Sea Snake ship. Not before Corlys can see his seat aflame from afar. It feels like a weird continuity error though. If they are sailing upwards, he should be looking westward, not east, to see High Tide. But that's a nitpick and one I'm not 100% confident in arguing. The show gives the Triarchy a much bigger head count of 350 ships compared to the still rather large 90 ship fleet in the books. The book never describes the size of the Velaryon fleet, but you can assume it's of equal size or even a tad smaller than the 90 ships. They are not outclassed, but merely taken by surprise. In comparison to the books, the battle takes a much different route. It's not Tywin Lannister who grabs the Triarchy fleet, it's actually Otto Hightower who's still fucking missing in the show. This alliance is forged from afar and through messages as Otto is still at King's Landing, along with Tywin, who isn't present at the Battle of the Gullet. The fleet also attacks from the east at dawn to use the glare of the sun as cover to hide their movements. The northern pincer is intercepted first, and the southern pincer makes it unmolested to Driftmark, where they lay waste to Spicetown and Hightide. Now you might ask, why are they attacking Hightide and not Dragonstone? Well, they perceive Dragonstone as being a much more difficult task, so they went for the easier one to loot. Jace is first to the scene, arriving alone and attacking the fleet. The fleet, though, had history of Daemon Targaryen during the Stepstones and specifically aimed to kill the rider, as they assumed without a rider the dragon would flee or stop its assault. Shortly afterwards, though, Ulf, Adam, Hugh and Nettles, who is excluded from the show and replaced by Rhaena, also joined the northern pincer on Dragonback, decimating the attack. The Triarchy was prepared to fight one dragon, not 5. The books are also unsure how Vermex is taken down, with a few differing accounts. All that matters though is that Jace and his dragon are lost at sea during the battle. The battle would continue into the night and would be one of the bloodiest sea battles in Westeros sea history. Lohar manages to escape along with 28 ships, unlike in the show. The aftermath of the battle is that Driftmark is totally wrecked. Its biggest city in Spicetown is ruined, and Corlys' seat of Hightide was ransacked, his legacy up in flames, and Driftmark would never see the highs that it once had again. After that explanation, you can see how the show differs in its approach. It limits the dragons to 3, one of which wasn't present, which was Moondancer and her rider Baela. Rhaena, who replaces Nettles, is on Sheepstealer, who is out of control and burning friend and foe alike, and tries to attack Baela and Jace. I think this is an attempt by the showrunners to tie Rhaena's and Nettles' storylines together. I won't go into detail into those regards, but if you've read the books, you can partially piece that together. There's also a lot of big changes in the show that are likely still to come later, but have been rearranged, such as how Jace is made aware of the attack by the Triarchy. Rhaenyra was also absent during the battle in the books, but it's unknown why, whilst the show puts its foot down with Jace finally having enough of his mother ignoring him and having her locked in her quarters by her Kingsguard, which is sort of hilarious. I would not want to be the Kingsguard when he opens that door, because he cannot belong for this world when Rhaenyra finds out about her son's death. Again, overall, I would have loved to see more of a battle on a wider scale, compared to the show focusing on this rivalry between Corlys and Lohar. This is done to make the story feel more personal and have those stakes, first looking at countless men we don't know being butchered at sea. Building up this mini rivalry just adds a bit more flavour to things and also helps develop Alan of Hall a bit further as he acknowledges Corlys as his father. I also really enjoyed the dragon assault on the ships. It looked stunning, and seeing a battle of this scale in the day and not the night was a pleasant surprise. We've had a singular fleet battle before, and that was Euron doing the Lord's work by killing the Sand Snakes. I'm also going to assume both Corlys Velaryon and Tywin Lannister survived their little tipple in the sea. Both characters do have a role to play in future episodes, and I don't think their current situations, if they are scooped out of sea, will change that trajectory too much. Anyway, that's enough from me. What did you folks think of the battle? Did it live up to expectations? Let us know in the comments below.